Hey, everybody. Welcome to the ReCoop. I'm Cooper Daniels, and I'm a guy that knows a little about a lot. And today I have a very special guest. I am here with Mr. Anthony Scaramucci. He is the founder of Skybridge Capital, the former White House communications director, the host of Mooch FM, and most importantly, a person that is very bullish on Algorand. How you doing, Anthony?
Well, I'm doing great. I mean, you mentioned Algorand. I actually talked to Silvio this morning. We're working on a number of different projects up there. You know about FIFA. You know about Napster. There's a few more things about to be announced. Unfortunately, we're in a bear market. So
Yeah.
if these things were announced in a bull market, I think you'd see a lot more price activity. But here's the good news. By November, when the World Cup is in full bloom, and remember, there's 5.7 million people that are somehow attached to FIFA. I want you to imagine, because you and I are Americans, I want you to imagine combining the NHL, the NBA, the MLB, and the NFL, all four of those American sports team/franchise organizations. It dwarfs in comparison to FIFA. And so 5.7 million people, Algorand will be all over the place. It'll ultimately become a household name. And as people recognize the extraordinary technology that's tied to Algorand, that's going to be a big leg up for us. And I think we have a community that we need to develop, which we're also in the process of doing.
Yeah. I was in a relationship with a woman from Rome for like 7 years. So I'm definitely aware of how big the World Cup is. And,
sounds like it was the heart broken, or you're okay?
I'm okay. I recovered. I found somebody new and then had a bunch of babies with her. So we're good. I moved on.
So then you're fully recovered. I mean, sometimes when you're in Italy, the combination of the food and the atmosphere, you can fall pretty hard, Coop.
That's true. And then her father was a hell of a guy. Anyways, so moving on. So yeah, and then also just real quick about FIFA. FIFA is not just a sponsorship. That's they're teaming up on all of the different things, right? The digital
ticketing, NFTs, players' jerseys. This is a remember, what makes a layer one technology, a protocol, do well? It's the TVL, it's the on-chain commerciality of it, it's the user interface, it's the ability to do transactions quickly, no downtime, all of these things. If I'm being totally candid and objective, Algorand has terrific technology, but for whatever reason, we haven't developed the community to match the technology. Moreover, it seems like there's been some loose holders of Algorand that have decided to sell anytime it picks its head up. If it hits $1, boom, it gets a massive wave of selling. So there's a combination of different things we can do to help Algorand. I believe that will all come over the next 6 to 12 months. I'm a long-term bull. I used to have $250 million worth of value in Algorand. I haven't sold a share. Right now, I have about $130 million worth of value.
So you're in pain, just like a lot of us. So look, we're gonna dive into Algorand and cryptocurrency, hopefully completely. But before we kind of move on, in case I know everybody basically knows who you are. I mean, that's on some level, most people know who you are. And I think most people either know you from your stint as the White House communications director.
And you're being so generous today, but let's face it, they know who I am and they have a goddamn opinion of me one way or the other. Some people really like me.
Yeah.
Some people hate my ass. I have people come up to me, they hate me. I'm like, okay.
Do they really hate you?
Oh my God, they light me up. They say mean things to me. I'm like, okay, but you don't even know who I am.
Well,
let me give your listeners and viewers some advice. Okay.
Okay.
Don't go into politics until you've joined every single country club that you want to get into, because the minute you go into politics, forget it. Because
you're not allowed anymore.
Yeah, half the club members are like, fuck that. Are you allowed to curse on this podcast?
No? Of course you are. Of course you are.
Fuck that guy. Okay, I'm not letting that guy in. You know what I mean? My oldest son says you pissed everybody off because you left Trump, so you pissed all the Trump people off.
Mm-hmm.
but the Democrats will never forgive you for being with Trump. So now you've got everybody pissed off that. But
Well,
go
so
ahead.
then,
I'm sorry.
okay. Well, I will say, look, I think you've actually just confused people. Like, they thought you were one thing, and then they're like, oh, wait, because everybody needs you to be in a neat little box. You can't be an actual genuine person communicating how he actually feels about things.
True story. That's
Yeah.
a true story. You have to be a two-dimensional caricature to people. And if you're not that, then they get upset. So really, I don't really like left or right politics. I'm more about right or wrong. I thought Trump was going to help people that were middle class and lower middle class. And I made the mistake of seeing some things that he was doing that was callous, that I should have rejected and talked badly about, denigrated, but I didn't do it. So I have to own that for the rest of my life. But I've also apologized to people for that. I've made that mistake. He also then got the job and didn't help the people that he was campaigning to. He's still campaigning to those very same people. They like him because he represents an avatar for their anger. Do you understand that?
Yeah.
So they like him for that reason.
Yeah.
So
absolutely. And, I'll say, becoming such a large figure in the cryptocurrency community, I think this is maybe something for other politicians to realize, that there is a huge group of people that will vote on a single issue, because I don't hear anybody complaining about you in the crypto community. I mean, and their politics are all over. Algorand has people on the far left, far right, and everybody's like, no, Mooch is great, because I'm
trying to help. I'm trying to explain to people what it is, and I'm trying to help people, and I'm trying to grow the community. But here's the thing, though. Francis Suarez has become a close friend of mine. He was at our conference, the Crypto Bahamas conference, 2 weeks ago, and he said something that I'll share with you. He's like, I had a small dinner for him, and I'm going to do some shameless name dropping. Okay, so we had Bill Clinton, Tony Blair, we had Katy Perry, Tom Brady, Giselle, Orlando Bloom, Sam Bankman-Fried. It was like a pretty eclectic group of people, and I let Mayor Francis get up there and speak. And he said something that was great. He turned to President Clinton. He said, how many votes did you get? Do you remember? And of course, Clinton remembered. It was like 55 million and 61 million. And then Francis said, yeah. He said, you need about 55 to 60 million votes, okay, to become the president. And Clinton acknowledged that and said, yes. He said, so how many people own cryptocurrencies in the United States? And so, and again, I don't know if this is true. So, I didn't do the fact checking on it, but Francis said it was about 73 million. And if you look at what Coinbase has and Kraken and all these different people, it seemed to be that. Okay. So again, I don't know if it's true or not, but what Francis was saying is, these people, Cooper, they're one issue voters.
100%.
Are you with me with my account, or you're against me? Okay.
That's it.
And so his point is, you better be with these people. Otherwise, they're not going to vote for you. So I predict that both presidential candidates next time will be in this for sure.
You think so?
Yes, they'll be pro crypto.
Good. I want to see it. So, I mean, what I was sort of hinting towards, though, is that, okay, so you were the White House communication, and people made an opinion about that. And then now we know you about, your Bitcoin bull and, an Algorand as well. But there's a bigger story here. I mean, my brother-in-law, who's, a very successful guy, he knows you for different reasons. So, in Skybridge Capital, and it is, you're Harvard Law. You were there at the same time as like Neil Gorsuch and Barack Obama. Right?
Yep. Yeah. I was there with President Obama. I don't want to call him Barack. I was there, but I know him a long time, and he's always been nice to me. I've always been nice to him. I like Barack Obama.
Yeah.
You know what's great about Barack Obama?
Tell me.
Is he's smart. He's doing the homework. Now, you may not agree with him ideologically, and that's fine. You have that ability not to agree with him. But you know what? He at least doing the homework. You need people in those jobs that are willing to do the homework. Does that make sense?
Right. Of course. Absolutely. Yeah. That's what you want, is you want these people that you believe in their intelligence, whether they agree with you or not. That's what you're voting for. But you just want everybody to have a certain base level of brightness if you're going to lead the largest nation in the world, right? I think that's true. I think that might be true. So what brought you to, how did you get, what's the story? How did you find your way to Bitcoin, Algorand, to these more speculative, possibly a lot of your peers probably see it as very risky. I've heard you say that you were late to cryptocurrency, which in a way you were, but maybe in traditional finance terms, you're on the earlier side, I think, to some of these guys. So what about your past has brought you here?
Well, for an institutional investor, I'm very early.
Yes.
For a crypto early adopter, I am late. Right. I got there in 2020, but I think I have your understanding of what your view is. Maybe I don't, but I think you're as bullish as I am. So therefore, then definitionally, I think we're both early. Does that make sense? Exactly. Meaning right now, you enter the space, Bitcoin's at 30,000. Yes, it spent some time at 68,000 a few minutes, but could Bitcoin, Tim Draper said today at his conference, he thought Bitcoin could be easily $250,000 by the end of the year. Now, maybe that's aggressive. Maybe not. You know what I mean? But I do think that, again, I'm just talking my book, I guess, but I want to explain why. I think when you have this type of growth, this type of activity, and you have a payment rail system in the United States and around the world that's 90 years old. And companies like Visa, MasterCard, JP Morgan are operating on 1975 mainframes, like COBOL programming. And now you have this thing known as the blockchain, this super sophisticated cryptographic software that can allow you and I to transfer value back and forth to each other without any permission from anybody. Right. And we can do it seamlessly, and we can do it in a way where we are synced and we can save a tremendous amount of money and time.
Yeah.
Oh my God, think of the opportunity. So I can take it out in so many different ways. Let me give you just two quick examples, right? One is the restaurant. If I'm the restaurateur, you're the consumer, you're my customer, you can pay me over smart wallet transfer. We avoid MasterCard and Visa. One is an expat. There's 150,000 expats from El Salvador here in the United States. They want to send money back to El Salvador. Now that El Salvador has Bitcoin as legal tender, they can do a wallet-to-wallet transfer. They will save themselves the 10% charge from Western Union.
Yeah.
That's $400 million.
Yeah.
You with me?
I'm with you. This is the deal. These are the things we don't think about.
Okay, right. Okay, let me give you one more. Okay, I'm at the Starbucks. It's 5 years from now. Everything's tokenized, Cooper. So over the blockchain, I have a tokenized representation. It'll probably be on Algorand's blockchain. It'll be a tokenized representation of Starbucks stock. I go into my Apple phone or Samsung. There is a Starbucks token. It says this token represents 50 shares of stock. Okay, and now I'm at the barista, but Starbucks happens to be having a share repurchase program. And so the barista looks at me and says, well, you could pay with cash, you could pay with a stable coin, you could pay with your credit card. Oh, by the way, if you personally own Starbucks stock, we'll give you a 15% discount on your coffee because we have a share repurchase program going on right now, and we want your stock off your phone. That could happen. Well, okay, so the point I'm making is that we can't yet see the transformations that this is going to take place. So I'm late in one way, but I think I'm very, very early in another. And you said, how did I get into Algorand? I'm an old timer now, so I went to chief technology officers at large companies, and I asked them a question: what's your Bitcoin strategy? We don't really have one. Okay. That's the same question that was asked 25 years ago. What's your internet strategy? Oh, we don't really have one. We don't have a website. Every company in America now has a website, but 25 years ago, there were large companies that have a website.
Right.
So then my second question is, okay, I got that, but do you yourself own any cryptocurrencies? And invariably, a lot of these CTOs say, yeah, yes, I do. Okay, you do. Which ones do you own? Well, one of them said to me, he was a French guy. He had been the chief technology officer at Capgemini, a European private equity and asset management firm. He said, well, I own a large amount of Algorand. I said, Algorand? What is Algorand? And then he started to explain to me what Algorand was. And then he started to explain to me why he owned it. And he said, listen, I'm from a $50 billion asset manager. I advise now. I left. I was the chief technology officer there, but I advise Fortune 50 companies around the world on tokenomics. And Algorand can run in large scale with tremendous transaction speeds, with carbon neutrality and no downtime. And a result of which, when this really catches on, right now the NFT market's tied to Ethereum. Solana has some of the NFT market and some other sophisticated use cases. Cardano, as you know, has some fulfillment and identification markets. So there's niches for each of these layer ones, but Algorand could be the financial nervous system. It could be the rail pipes for financial transactions that are eventually going to be tokenized. Because of its scalability, it solved the trilemma: scalability, security, right,
and decentralization.
Those three things, right? It's done all those things. And so the CTOs of the biggest, most sophisticated companies, whose first order of detail in their job, don't fire me. I have to make this decision in a way that won't get me fired. We'll choose Algorand over others. And so once I met with him, then I did the cold calling, reverse inquiry, went up to see Algorand. I brought my cryptocurrency research team, and then we started to establish a large position.
There you go. And you mentioned the rails. You see already in Latin America and El Salvador that they use Algorand to move some. The banks use Algorand to move Bitcoin.
They do,
and it seems like that could be a solution.
The Bitcoin on an Algorand network. Yes, they do.
Yeah, and So, and then apparently Koi Banks has they are teasing a big announcement that is Algorand Bitcoin linked. So I'm curious about what that is. You also mentioned Starbucks.
I think the Algorand is actually trading better as a result of that. Yeah, I'm not sure what that announcement is, but that's why Algorand, these other coins have been down the last couple of days, but Algorand's been holding steady.
It has been holding in that like 45, 46 area. You mentioned Starbucks, and they recently had an announcement that they're entering Web3, and they said that I think they had this idea that they were going to make the Starbucks location their third home, and then COVID happened, and they realized, okay, we can't do that, so we're going to create a digital world. And they mentioned carbon neutrality, good for the environment, and fast and cheap as the requirements for what they're looking for. Yes. Seems like Algorand would be the right choice for that, right?
I think so. But here's the thing. It needs a little bit more of a robust community. It needs a little bit more of what I would call developer momentum.
Right.
Okay. And so, because what you also don't want to do if you're a big CTO, you're like, okay, well, wait a minute. Here's the market cap of Solana. Here's the market cap of Ethereum. Let me take a look at the market cap of Algorand. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah. It's not at escape velocity. Okay. When it was $11 billion on its way to 20, now you're talking, right? But Algorand's market cap, because of the bear market, and frankly because I think we've had some loose holders shake the token, is down in the low $3 billion. Listen, top 30, but we had this thing in the top 20, coming out of the Cypher, the Algorand conference in December, and so we have to figure that out, and we will.
Yeah.
And by the way, don't underestimate FIFA, because this will become a name recognized token by the middle of next year.
Yeah. And it's one of those things that if you actually look into it, it's hard to deny. When you start to look at who Silvio Macaulay is, and you start to see his history, it's hard to think that this isn't the best tech, because it's done by the people that create the best tech. So that is a huge problem. We all saw what just happened with Terra Luna, and that's obviously put pressure on the markets too. And there's a big campaign happening right now on Twitter trying to get all those NFT projects from Terra Luna over to Algo, and there seems to be some success there. So that's that's some community activity of people trying to pull people into the system, the ecosystem.
Yes.
So, but I've heard from other guys that are building on Algorand, it's hard. It's a hard sell to get the big guys behind, because which makes you sort of like maybe this is a bit much, but like sort of a courageous visionary here. You're kind of putting your neck out a little bit obviously you can because of who you are and where you are at your company. But this guy was telling me that it's a lot easier for a guy working somewhere to join on Solana because he had a couple of winners on Solana. And then if he fails on Solana, it's not a big deal. But if he goes out on a limb and goes Algorand, that could lose him his job. Does that sound about right?
Yes, I think it sounds right. And I would add something to it. I would say that there's a dashboard, Cooper. You know this. There's a survival virility dashboard. It's TVL, number of developers working, number of NFTs, transactions that are taking place on a daily basis on the network. There's a whole economic dashboard of survivability, and we have a lot of those things going well from a structure and technology point of view. But we need to get more going on the viability side. Does that make sense?
It does. It does.
So,
do you have any? So what you're seeing right now is like, look, we're in a bear market. It's going to be hard to gather any real momentum, but it's going to be inevitable here when FIFA comes and that recognition. You're looking at FIFA as this could be potentially a watershed moment for people to get this into their consciousness, right?
Yes, but here's the other problem. The price. You have people on the development team inside Algorand's corporate where the price of the token is probably got those guys a little bummed out. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's got a lot of people bummed out. It's got the retail guys bummed out. It's got, it's hard to keep the vibes high, like I try to do a comedy. I'm doing a comedy, crypto channel. So it's, so I'm trying to, maybe have some fun during a bear market. It's not always easy because as you watch your money disappear, your sense of humor starts to lower.
Yeah. Or you get gallows humor, you start, the name of my firm is Skybridge. It was another 10% down. It was like blown up bridge. You know what I mean? But
Exactly. Our jump off bridge.
You can't be on the frontier without volatility. You can't be on the frontier without the expectation that there's going to be major setbacks. And by the way, you have a group of the old guard that hate it, but you had a group of people that said that the horseless carriage was never going to work. And when they showed the plane takeoff, they said, well, there'll never be any commercial use for that. Nobody's going to get in a plane and take it somewhere for a commercial reason. And then you had the internet, the personal computer. People say, well, who the hell needs that? These big computers are used in the office. You don't need those at home. And then Internet 1, Web 1.1. Everybody was like, we don't need that. What the hell do you need that for? And you needed it, and you need this. And I want you to imagine, and I want your viewers and listeners to just imagine this. It's back in 1998. Of course, we couldn't be doing this in 1998. We wouldn't have the technology.
Right.
But let's say I was at my fat box computer, and I had my corded mouse, and I was dialing into the internet on my 14.4 baud modem, and it was whirring and burring, and my landing page was taking about 35 seconds to land. And it was an AOL landing page, of course, because that's how I was getting onto the internet. You've got mail, it's saying to me as I'm loading. And then all of a sudden, Cooper Daniels beams in through time teleportation from 2022, 24 years later. And he says, hey, Mooch, how are you? I'm Cooper Daniels from 2022. And oh, by the way, you see the way you're getting on the internet right now? You're not going to do that.
No.
Okay, you're going to get on, and it's going to be 1,000 MPS, or whatever the hell it's called, and you're going to be lightning fast. And oh, by the way, there'll be hundreds of millions of people that will be streaming 4K video over the internet. So you're not going to go to that Blockbuster. You're not going to spend any time buying a VHS.
Yeah.
You're going to stream. And by the way, it's going to be an internet of machines where your phone is going to be a computer, and your flat screen television is not only going to have the 4K or 8K definition, it's going to be a computer where you're going to be tapped into the internet on your TV. And so why am I bringing all this up? Because Cooper, I want you to imagine where we're going in 10 or 20 years with Web3. Okay. You can't, we're so nascent. It's so early. Okay. It's hard to picture where things are going to go. Yeah. Let me give another quick, crazy example. I buy my deodorant from Amazon. Okay. I'm a right guard cold wave purchaser. Okay.
Okay.
So there are two intermediaries, right? Procter & Gamble makes it. Mm-hmm. They ship it to Amazon. Amazon ships it to me, but I pay them through a second intermediary known as American Express or sometimes Visa. Right. There are two intermediaries. Why? Well, they don't, Procter & Gamble doesn't want a single purchase from me. They want to sell in bulk, and they want to sell to a trusted person. And then the Amazon people have figured out how to fulfill things efficiently. And they don't want to trust me, so they're trusting American Express to pay them, right? Or Visa. Yeah. Over the blockchain, I can go directly to Procter & Gamble. I say, here you go. Here's your value for your deodorant. And they can hire a fulfillment company for a fraction of what it costs them to sell to Amazon, or to also pay the surcharge to MasterCard or Visa. And the next thing you know, I'm getting the right guard at a lower price. They're making more profit. So let me ask you something. If there's a technology available where you can sell the product at a lower price because you've delayered the intermediaries in the distribution process, and the client's happier because it's the lower price, but you're making more money, is that going to be a good idea?
Yeah, I think there people are going to like that.
So to me, that's Web3. That's why you've got to own Ethereum and Bitcoin and Solana, and that's why I have a major position in Algorand. And I've got a very big outsized bet on Algorand because I think Algorand, once people understand it, to go back to Web 1, I think it's Google. And so now we're back there in 1998, and I said, hey, Cooper, that's all cool. How am I going to search the internet Web 1? You're going to be like, well, how are you doing it now, Ant? Well, I use Alta Vista. Sometimes I use Ask Jeeves. Sometimes I use something called Lycos. Remember Lycos? Mm-hmm. And you're going to say to me, no. You're going to use Google. The hell is Google? Yeah. So Google, we already had search capability on the web. Google showed up and Bigfooted everybody. So I think once Algorand is fully understood and there's a momentum behind it and the robust activity in there, it's going to leapfrog everybody. So that's why I'm such a big proponent of it.
Yeah. Well, and then also the institutional, investors and the institutional money is going to like the carbon negative. The fact that when you use Algorand, you are in some ways pulling carbon out of the air, right? That's
correct.
That's sort of what their partnership with Climate Trip. And I wanted to point out real quick, if I did travel back to 1998, I would in fact be an assistant manager at Blockbuster Video. So there you go.
There you go. You don't look old enough. I thought you were in the first grade.
Oh no, but I was. I
had already left Goldman. I was already working on my first business. I was 34. Okay, I'm now 58. It's very hard to believe, but anyway, it's life.
Yeah, I was a freshman. I was a freshman in high school. So, well, no, actually, I was a little older than that. But that's okay. So, okay. You also mentioned when you were talking about at this time, you don't get it. And then at this time, it reminds me of your buddy's commercial, the FTX commercial with
Larry David.
You're Larry David, right?
Yeah.
And such a great commercial. Wasn't that a good commercial?
Loved it. Yeah.
Loved it. So, that's another bit of news. FTX also just recently launched is supporting ALGO.
Yes.
And, something that we talk about a lot in the community is, when is one of these major exchanges going to list USDCa or USDC, the ASA? Like we got to get Coinbase or an FT.
I'll work on that. So, I partnered up with FTX for Crypto Bahamas. I brought Silvio down there, as well as Steve and Sean. And what I would say to you is, before the thing started, I went to Sam and I said, Sam, we've become close. We're partnered up together. It would be a huge favor to me if you guys could create cash spot trading for for Algo on FTX. And he shook my hand. He said, I promised to do it before the conference. Now, here's the good news about that. They did a tremendous amount of due diligence. And a result of which it led to us impressing the technology team at FTX.
Oh, really?
Because I think they knew of Algorand and they heard it was a good product, but when they got done doing the due diligence, they were like, "Oh yeah, this thing is really got wheels. This has been built to be a Ferrari."
Yeah, well, you can tell him that if he were to support USDC, the ASA, that would also open it up and make it very easy in the future for them to list ASAs, and that would pull a lot of guys over from Coinbase. That's for sure.
All right.
Yeah. So that would be I'm glad I mentioned it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So look, I hear a lot of guys, I was listening to Bankless the other day and they were talking about the bear market and how they were actually sort of happy that there's a bear market because, Ethereum isn't ready for mass adoption. And, I talk to Bitcoiners and they talk about how Bitcoin isn't necessarily ready for mass adoption because Lightning Network isn't quite ready for that. Right.
Yeah.
To me, it seems like, you could use, Algorand's tech at the very least is ready for that type of scale.
Yeah. You could wrap it like the way it's going in El Salvador. I think the Lightning Network is valuable. I don't want to say that it isn't. There's a company called Stacks that's also working on a different payment rail system for Bitcoin. We certainly want Bitcoin, which is an older blockchain. We want Bitcoin to have a layer 2 that makes it faster and more efficient and probably burning up less electricity. Because I think eventually, and I think they misquoted Sam a little bit. He probably said it, but they made it bigger to do of it. He corrected it on Twitter, him saying that Bitcoin is never going to exist as a payment system. I think the point that he was making as a standalone, it's clunky. You're going to need a wrapped product, wrapped in Algorand, Lightning Network, some type of layer 2 to get Bitcoin moving the way we want it to. But I think it's irrefutable given the quality of Bitcoin, what Bitcoin actually represents to the community, the collectability of it, that it'll be with us forever. And I think it's going to have a very large value. There's no reason why it couldn't trade to a $15 trillion market cap, which is 30 times where it is right now.
Yeah.
Not impossible.
No. And, we're talking about FTX and Sam, they, and you mentioned Solana earlier, they seem to, he's been in the news in the past about making some very bullish bets on Solana that definitely played out for him for sure. Do you see, Solana also often goes down. And do you think that institutions would find that or businesses would find that discouraging to, what do you think?
So let's see. It's going down right now. Anatoly's a brilliant guy. Maybe he will make changes or improvements so that it doesn't go down by the time people are getting ready to look at it. I think it could end up becoming very, very competitive. They have done an amazing job building their community. Okay. I would love to take their community and their marketing and Silvio's tech and call it a day, but that's not how the world works. But I think they're going to solve their problems. I'm unbelievably impressed with Anatoly. I've had dinner with him twice in the last 6 months. Him and Silvio like each other. It's one of these things where I think you'll have a couple of layer 1s that coexist with each other, Cooper.
Of course. And I saw the panel at Crypto Bahamas, and it did in fact seem like Silvio, he seemed to pay a lot of attention to Anatoly. And so it appeared to me, if I'm reading body language, that there was a mutual respect for sure.
Very much so.
Of course. And so, we're talking about it, we're talking around it maybe a little bit, is that we are in a bear market. And a lot of my viewers, this may be their first bear market. Or, in crypto, there was obviously 2017. But for a lot of guys that have been investing in tech for the last 10 years, there hasn't been a whole lot of pain, like it's kind of been everything goes up. And now there's a lot of a lot of guys are struggling, and especially when you see things like Terra Luna. Do you have any advice, being through this? I know you've been through probably a few different bear markets, and is there any advice that you can give some of these younger guys about how to get through this, how to come out of this stronger?
Yeah. Two pieces of advice, actually. Number one, and it may be too late for this, but they should know this: don't buy more than you can afford to lose. Mm-hmm. Number two, don't be levered. This way you own the asset, you own the inventory, you never have to sell it.
Yeah.
And then the other piece of advice I would tell you is what other people think of you is none of your business. And Cooper, look at my life. I got my ass fired from the White House. I was lit up by every late night comedian. I was roasted on most cable news channels. Okay. Mm-hmm. I don't give a shit. Okay. And so, what difference does it make? So people are calling me stupid now because I was in the block. I was getting picked on CNBC last week. I got my buddies won't go on CNBC because they're getting annihilated. They were on there, rah, 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 when it was going up. Now it's getting annihilated. I'm going on. I don't care. Telling people what I think. I'm telling why people I'm long it. And so there's wisdom in taking a long-term perspective. So this is my 8th bear market. Okay. Listen, if you're a young person listening in, my first 2 bear markets, I was on oxygen. I thought it was over, and I was like, okay, I'm going to have a barrel and suspenders, and I'm going to be walking around as an impoverished person. And I definitely thought that, but it never happens. The reason it doesn't happen is because you're going to fight. You're going to get in the fight. You're going to dig in. You're going to pound. You're going to work. And I'll tell you this, if you can convince yourself and others to buy at the prices we are at right now, when things calm down, you're going to look back and say, what the hell? Why wasn't I buying that?
I know.
The answer was you're probably too scared. And so don't be scared. Live your life without fear. Remember what Mel Brooks said about life. Cooper, Mel Brooks, the legendary comedian, now age 96, he said, relax. None of us are getting out of here alive. Relax.
That's it.
Go for the gut, though, man. Dig in.
Yeah. And try to, and try to be a bit positive and have a sense of humor. If it hurts, sometimes it's fun to joke about it. But absolutely. And, you also, if I'm correct, in those early bear markets, it couldn't have been that easy. Am I correct? You weren't born into a ton of money, right?
I've been in a negative coop. I've been in a negative subsidy to my parents since I was 12 years old. Okay. When my dad got his hours cut back, I went and got a paper out. I started giving half the money to my mother. What am I going to do? My dad's, I think his highest pay was like $35,000 a year when he retired in the year 2000,
Wow.
And, they're great people. And by the way, we lived in the middle class. I would never just honor him by telling you I did. I mean, we lived in the middle class. He was an hourly worker. He got a nice wage. Mm-hmm. And I had a great upbringing. I'm not here to tell you I grew up poor. I didn't go to a boarding school. I didn't have a fancy car. We had Chevrolets as kids, and we put the air conditioners in on Memorial Day. Mm-hmm. And we took the air conditioners out on Labor Day. It could have been 5,000 degrees the day before. My father didn't care. The air conditioner went in on Memorial Day. It came out on.
Yeah.
And that was it. No questions asked,
Oh, man. Yeah. The air conditioner dads.
Yeah. I mean, that's how it was, and, there was anxiety in the house. There was anxiety about money,
Yeah.
And I said, all right, look, I'm going to try not to have that anxiety. Let me see if I can create a business which could give me some financial independence. But also, I'm a capital artist. I'm not just a capitalist. I got to have my own thing going. I've got to create my own thing. I'm not going to sit inside some big company and kiss somebody's ass to make my money. I'm not doing that. I make my own company, and let's break some eggs and see if we can make some omelets.
That's right. So you also have a partnership. You have a partnership with the NAX group and an Unlocks Fund. What can you spell that out? What's going on there? When I was at South by Southwest, NAX was there with Spin Magazine, and we saw that NFT project. So yeah, what are you guys partnering up with over there?
So let me give you some more history, though. I've known Jeff Schumacher forever. About 10 years ago, we started a very exclusive wine party at the World Economic Forum together. We were introduced by a mutual friend. And I thought that, from my upbringing, I can give some playful observations about the very wealthy. The very wealthy like wine. But you know what they like more than wine, Cooper?
What?
How about free wine? Okay, they
Yeah.
like free wine more than wine.
Mm-hmm.
So what I did, I came up with this idea that I was going to serve 100-point Robert Parker wine at a wine party at the World Economic Forum. And then when I saw what the prices were, I gulped and I turned to the sommelier. I said, hey, do you know anybody that could potentially help me do this? Okay, could we go into partnership with somebody?
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, there's this guy at the Boston Consulting Group. His name is Jeff Schumacher. He's built some really interesting things on the cloud and blah, blah. I said, okay, great. So I teamed up with Jeff and we did this and we got along very, very well. He left 4 or 5 years ago to develop the NAX. What is the NAX? It stands for New Asset Exchange, the NAX. Okay. And it's selling NFTs. It's selling tokenization. He wants to liquefy the parts of our society that are not yet liquefied by the NASDAQ or the bond market or the New York Stock Exchange, right? So that could be private art collections. It could be people's furniture, furnishings, could be anything, okay, where you could literally tokenize things.
Right.
And so coincidentally, I've been working on that with him. I'm the chairman of the NAX, chairman of that business for 4 or 5 years. I'm at the Beverly Hills Hotel. It's about 1.5 years, maybe 2 years ago. And he turns to me, we're eating, and he looks at me and he says, hey, can I ask you something? I said, sure. He says, have you ever heard of Algorand? I said, have I heard of Algorand? I said, I'm sitting on a boatload of Algorand. I love Algorand. And he's like, yeah. He says, our tech team, remember the CTO thing? They did an inquiry of all these different layer ones. They've decided to build our platform on Algorand. I said, oh my God. He said, yeah, I've already met with Silvio. I already met with this guy. I already met with that guy. I said, oh my God, this is like such a small world.
Yeah.
I said, let me, team up with you and them. And then we brought a couple of the people that he's working with, like the AXA pharmaceutical guy, the people in Europe, to come to the Decipher conference, where I had the opportunity to interview those guys. So small world. But again, chief technology officers doing homework, clean slate, fresh analysis. What layer one protocol are they going to use? Those guys chose Algorand.
Right. Yeah, it seems like these tech guys. So what can we look forward to with this partnership?
Well, I think they've got a number of projects that they're about to launch. It's there was a little bit of a delay because Algorand itself was updating and upgrading the protocol and upgrading the software. Why was that beneficial? They made the software more user-friendly, easier to build on, and they've improved the interoperability of that software. So you have to, when you're a layer one like Algorand, you have to be able to interface with Ethereum or Solana or these others, Avalanche, Polkadot, et cetera. And so they've now done that. And I think they had to wait. The NAX guys had to wait for that last upgrade. So I'm hoping in the next 3 to 6 months, we'll see a couple of really big projects that will add wallets, add scalability, increase transactions on the network, and therefore move and improve the TVL.
Yeah, I mean, you speaking of that, it's very impressive also what Solana has done, not being EVM and creating such a large, such a large project. So it does seem like Algorand is very focused on becoming EVM compatible and compatible with all these other blockchains.
I think so. So.
So I was just thinking, actually, and I got sidetracked. So you went to Harvard Law. Did you ever practice law?
I never practiced law, although my mother, she's a blue collar woman from an Italian family. Her parents are from Italy. My mother thought Harvard Law School was Hartford Law School. I mean, that was the running joke in the family. She's like, why would they name it Harvard Law School if it's not in Hartford? I'm like, because it's not named Harvard Law School. It's Harvard, not Hartford.
That's hilarious.
Okay. And then secondary, She was so upset that I didn't become a lawyer. I think she lied to her friends for 5 years and told them that Goldman Sachs was a law firm just to make herself feel better. So go figure, okay? Classic Italian lunatic mother, okay? Yeah, I adore her. I'm just pointing out.
No. My
You know,
mother's a lunatic as well.
yeah, I mean, come on, that's what they're like, okay? You know, you have your buddies that are listening right now. They go, "Yeah, I got one of those. I got one of those."
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
well,
all
I
do. And we love them, and we
right, of
obviously
course,
love them. Yeah.
of course.
So, okay, because of this or last week we had the collapse of a stable coin, right? So regulation and the well, first off, what are your opinions? You hear Bitcoin, a lot of Bitcoiners say that everything that's not Bitcoin is basically an unregulated security. Can you maybe break down possibly maybe why you think that ALGO is not a security?
Yeah, well, the good news is I don't know if you caught this morning, but the CFTC head, the chairman, he basically said that and his name is Rostin Behnam. Okay, he was appointed by Barack Obama. He was sworn in on January 4th of this year. I'm sorry, appointed by Joe Biden, sworn in on January 4th, 2022. He said on CNBC this morning that Ethereum is definitely a commodity. It's definitely a currency as well as Bitcoin. So by those definitions, okay, Algorand would fit that.
Got
it. Now, if you're in a currency that's generating yield, okay, and you can stake Algorand, but I'm talking about it itself actually generating yield. You're getting a reward from the foundation that's different from it generating yield. Okay,
Right.
If it's generating yield and it's designed to generate yield, then I think it probably is a security. Okay, because if it looks like a duck and talks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck.
Yeah. So you're thinking that there's not too much to be concerned with the security aspect of it.
I don't think so. No, I'm of the camp, and again, I hope I'm right, but I'm of the camp that Algorand, Ethereum, Bitcoin will be treated like the commodity / tenders that they happen to be.
Yeah. Because there's that Howey test, and I'm no expert about this, but that whole idea that there's other people working towards, there's a group, what's the fourth one though? There's other people working towards.
Yeah. I've seen it on the internet, and they've made that case for Ethereum. They said the result of which Ethereum is therefore a security. It's not a commodity, but don't go by me, what I'm saying. The CFTC chairman said it, not me.
Yeah. There you go. And then also with stable coins, so we see that collapse, and then and regulation is going to come to stable coins. And frankly, I don't see what's all that wrong with that. It makes sense that the US would want to regulate stable coins to some degree. Do you, I'm going to bring up a little, maybe
stable coins probably are going to have stable collateral, right? They're probably going to, you can't have an 80 vol backing something that's stable. Okay. So something that has an 80 vol is unstable, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, the good news is we never owned any of the whole Luna Terra fiasco because my head of cryptocurrency research was like, we can't own that. Because either call it something different. Also, this, but maybe some of your viewers and listeners don't know this. So let me say it to them, and let me look right in the camera when I'm saying it. And I'm going to take a deep breath. Okay, you ready?
I'm ready.
If something is yielding you 20%, and the risk-free rate of return from, say, the United States Treasury is between 2 and 3%, run. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. This message has been brought to you by Skybridge Cryptocurrency Research. Okay, run. Okay, if it's too good to be true, Cooper. It's too good to be true.
Well, that's what, about 3 months ago, I was looking at Terra Luna and I'm thinking, man, you can go to Anchor and get 20% on a stable coin. Like, this is free money. I mean, this is just free money. And I'm glad that I never pulled the trigger on that. That's for sure. What percentage of, Skybridge is cryptocurrency?
So the reason I'm hesitating is that it was 50%,
Oh, wow.
but it got whacked so hard. I'm going to guess now it's probably 40, 38, 40.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Okay.
and
Still very
listen,
significant.
you tell me, because who the hell knows? I watched Bitcoin over the weekend go from 25 to 31,000.
Yeah.
Like a 25% move. Okay, go ahead. And now
Yeah.
it's back down to 29,000. Who the hell knows? If you
Yeah.
said to me, now that the Terra Luna fiasco is cleaned up,
Mm-hmm.
if you said to me Bitcoin was going to be 40,000 by the end of June, I wouldn't be surprised by that. It was 40,000 in April.
Yeah, not that long ago at all.
Yeah. So it doesn't surprise it doesn't surprise me. Here's a big one. You ready?
Yep.
And you can invite me back on, and you can dunk me in the lake of embarrassment and shame. Okay, because I'm going to make a prediction. Okay.
Okay, I want to hear it.
Okay, I think, and this will probably cause it not to get approved because this will go public, but I think that the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust has a good chance of getting approved. I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's going to get approved because there's an $8 billion of trap value. It's trading at a 30% discount. The fees are very, very high. Mm-hmm. And I just want you to imagine these guys are before the SEC with all their rationale. And oh, by the way, we're lowering fees. And if you approve this thing, it's going to create $8 billion of value for our investors.
Man.
I don't know. So maybe the SEC will turn it down because they're kowtowing to Elizabeth Warren, or maybe the SEC really does believe in the individual investor and will work in the best interest of that investor, and maybe they'll let it go, and maybe they'll let it happen.
Well, there's two things I want to say about that. The first thing I want to say, recently I saw that Grayscale was trading at like a 30% discount to Bitcoin, which I don't know what that is now, but if they do get that spot ETF, that'd be a heck of a buy right now. But then another thing is Elizabeth Warren, and I don't want to dive too much into this, but she postures as somebody that's really for the people and like taking down the and regulating the banks and for the people. And it's just crazy to me what she says and how uninformed she seems about all this. I mean, what do you think about Elizabeth Warren and her stance on all this stuff?
I think she's the dumbest, smartest person in the room. Because these people think they're the smartest people and better than everybody else, all that stuff. So she wants to fly on her private plane, but she doesn't want you to. She wants to rail about your Hummer, but she wants to get in her plane. You follow what I'm saying? She's apparently for the unbanked, and she's a progressive. So therefore, Bitcoin, blockchain, Algorand all represents that, this wonderful egalitarian opportunity to help those people. But you don't want to do that. Okay, she wants to be for the banks, but I thought she hated the banks. She is all over the place. Okay, so what can I tell you? I mean, she don't like me, and I don't like her. And the funny thing is, she doesn't even remember this, but in 1993, when she joined the faculty, before all this woke nonsense, okay, she was like super nice to me because I was writing big checks to Harvard.
Yeah.
When I got into the Trump administration, she was running investigations on me and shit. I mean, it's fucking, come on. I have no time for her. Okay, I'm too old, and I have no time for her. I think she's one of the stupidest, most harmful politicians that we have currently in America. And I mean this in the way that I mean it. Stupid smart, right? She's a high IQ.
Oh, yeah.
Supercilious, uber arrogant. But, she's smarter than you and me combined. You know that. And she wants your money, Cooper. I'll take that money out of your pocket because she has a better idea how to spend that money than you do.
Yeah.
She wants that money, baby. Hold that money, man. You better hold on to that money.
I better hold it. Put that on a ledger. Put it on a ledger. Yeah.
Exactly.
Get it off exchange. Yeah. Well, there you go with that. So there we go. Look, I think
you see why I get in so much trouble, though, right?
I love it. I love it. And there is FUD out there with Tether. I know the US has been investigating Tether for a long time, and a lot of people talk about how maybe Tether is propping up the price of Bitcoin. Do you know what I mean? Do you have an opinion on that, or what do you see there?
It's just not true. Okay, it's just bullshit because it's not even big enough to do that.
Right.
Okay, if you said that 15 years ago when it came into inception, or sorry, I'm exaggerating, 13 years ago. 12, 13 years ago. Okay. It's not true.
Yeah.
Not true. We've done so much work on that. You know what I mean?
Oh, you have. Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, look, you said that I can dunk on you.
Yes. Anything you want.
If the Grayscale spot ETF doesn't happen, and so
you got to
that
invite me
sounds.
back on. You got to invite me back on that day, and you can dunk on me.
Yeah, but I'm
All
not
right.
even. I actually agree with you. So that dunk will be very, gentle. It'll be a gentle
I
dunk.
can't imagine that they would not let that happen. And then when they let it happen, forget about it. Bitcoin's going to the moon because all of these wirehouses are going to have a Bitcoin Cash ETF.
Yeah.
What are they going to do? They're going to go into a solicitation. Cooper just sold his business for $200 million. And they're going to say, Coops, we want you in 60% stocks and 40% bonds. Or, we want you in 35%. And this 60-40 strategy has failed for the last 10 years. But that's what we're going to do for you. And then, you're a smart,
really
sophisticated guy. So then you say to them, oh, but what's your digital asset strategy? And they say, well, Warren Buffett says it's worthless. So we're the only wirehouse in America that doesn't have a cash Bitcoin ETF. And you'll be like, okay, yeah, well, I'm going to go to the other wirehouse then, right? So they're all going to have it. Think about it from a Nash game theory perspective. They're going to get flushed into it. Yeah. See what I mean? And by the way, they don't make Bitcoin, baby. So you only got 21 million coins. That's probably a million or so got lost in the early inception, and there's still just under 2 million coins to be mined. You don't have enough coins, baby. That coin's going higher.
That's it. I know you just reminded me of when I had the idea that I was going to buy Facebook at $19, and the Schwab guy laughed at me, just was cackling, laughing at me about, oh, you're going to buy Facebook. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I was like, yeah, dude, like, what are you talking about? It's $19. It's completely. So that was, it's struggling now, but still
it's struggling now, but I think, well, where is it now? It's like 300-400. But here's the thing. If I had said to you, Bitcoin has about 200 million wallets right now. Mm-hmm. And if I said to you 8 or 9 years ago, I said, Cooper, Facebook has 200 million users on its platform, 200 million accounts. Someday, 8-9 years from now, it's going to have 3 billion. Your Charles Schwab guy would have been laughing, right? Mm-hmm. That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
But it happened, Cooper.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so someday we're going to be sitting here and Bitcoin's going to have 1 billion wallets, 1.5 billion wallets. It's going to be trading at 300,000. Mm-hmm. And people are going to be mad, and they're going to take it out on you and me because we were doing podcasts when it was 30,000, and we're going to own it. And we're going to take the ride with it. And they're going to be mad.
Yeah, they'll be mad
that they missed it.
Well, and I will say, I went to a wedding recently with a lot of guys, institutional guys, and they found out I had a podcast and I talked about cryptocurrency and I might know something about Bitcoin, and they're very interested. They're like, wait, okay, should I be buying this? And I'm like, look, like, should I get this ETF? I'm like, well, I should get the ETF, but
5% of them. Just get 5% of them in the pool, swimming pool with us. Watch what happens to prices.
Right. But do you agree? The futures ETF, it seems like maybe it's done more harm than good for Bitcoin, or at least a price action. Is it like, you know so much more about this space, but from what I understand, it's like it can also be used as a tool for just basically manipulating the market. So kind of.
I don't like it. I know what Gary did. He had enormous pressure on him, and he said, well, we're not going to do the cash ETF because the futures is something we can oversee with the CFTC. And, they do trade Bitcoin in Dubai, and I can't see the trade. So therefore, it must be manipulated. Right. And they're like, okay, but it's a gigantic liquid market, and it's clearing 24/7. And it's, because you can see the transparency of the wallets, that it's not being manipulated. And oh, by the way, if the cash ETF was being manipulated, it would spill over into the futures market. But let's not say that.
Right.
So there's pressure on him because there's administrative law from back in the Reagan administration era where you can't be arbitrary and capricious with your regulation. No arbitrary and capricious regulation. So just think about that for a second. What does that basically mean? That means, well, I allowed for the futures Bitcoin ETF, but I didn't allow for the cash. Well, is there really that big of a distinction, or is that regulatory decision arbitrary and capricious? And so Davis Polk and Wardwell, on behalf of some of their clients, filed for administrative relief. They filed a lawsuit. And so that's coming home to roost as well.
Okay, well, that's good. I mean, speaking of Gary Gensler, he's taught all those classes on at MIT about Bitcoin. So he seems to understand it. When he talks about it, it does sound like, Bitcoin's going to be left alone. If I'm, reading tea leaves, Bitcoin's going to be left alone by him, and probably, like you mentioned, Ethereum, and hopefully, through the moves that Algorand's made through decentralizing governance, and they keep Algorand Inc. separate and all of that stuff. I think that they've set this up to also be kind of, and you would think maybe Gary and Silvio are friends. I don't know. Do you know if they're friends?
So I would tell you that Gary's on tape saying that Algorand is so good that you could run all of Uber on it. But that was when he was a professor there. Okay. I would say that because he's now an Uber politician that wants to be the Secretary of Treasury, that he's probably pretty distant from Silvio and other players in the cryptocurrency space now.
Okay, I actually didn't know that he had said that.
Yeah, you could find that on. You could find that on the. All you got to do is Google it. You'll see it pop right up.
Okay, well, I'll be talking about that on social media soon. All right. Well, look, thank you so much, Anthony, for taking the time. And
Cooper, it was great to be on. I hope I get you on. I hope we do a home and away. You'll come on Mooch FM.
Hey, that's another thing, everybody. You got to check out Mooch FM. Is this how long have you been doing Mooch FM?
Doing it for about a year. It's been a lot of fun. We interview authors, crypto people, macroeconomic people, but also just people I think are interesting,
I listened to your last episode, and it was with Natalie Salamink.
Yeah, exactly.
And I had Natalie from Prismatic. I had Natalie on the show here.
Love her.
And
she's great.
She's great. And I believe, and I think I might've been her first interview. So there you go.
All right, well, there you go. See that? You beat me to it, but I like her. She's really, really smart. Cooper, you have a great one, man.
All right. Thank
you
so much.
Always a pleasure. All right. We'll see you soon.
All right. See you soon.